Hello, everyone. I'm Spike, and welcome to the Chore of Duty. Standing by is my brother Chris. He's
Yo,
basically along for the ride because this is my show.
buckle up.
You buckle up because this ride does get bumpy. Anybody who's watched the Chore of Duty for any length of time or listened to our podcast, please find our podcasts if you like. Between Geeking Out, the back rack videos, and this show, the political show. We are over on Anchor, on Spotify, Apple, Google Podcast, pretty much anywhere. All the major podcast distributors have us there. How many of you actually listen? I don't know, but but feel free to pile on. Like the show. Please give us a like. Please subscribe if you have not already. Share the word about us if you like what you hear. And if you don't,
free.
And it's all free. So no paywalls, no monetization, no fooling. I don't care what they think. We're just going to go ahead and say what we say what we think because that's the way we've always done. So this is the Chore of Duty. Now we got all that out of the way. This is, like I said, this is the political one. Sometimes this is political, sometimes it's more philosophical, and that's what this one's going to be. This one, it's not going to be terribly long of an episode. Typically we get this done about 20 minutes. This one's probably going to take about 10 because it's not going to take long, but it's something that I want you to think about because it's something that a lot of people have paid attention to. There's been a lot of wailing and gnashing of teeth and rending of garments about the direction the United States is going in, and how everybody is just split and everybody's just solidifying their ideas and they're picking sides, and we're going to have a second civil war, and oh my gosh, the earth will just tear asunder, and Jesus is going to come back, and just everything's just going to end on us all of a sudden, and it's just going to be ta-da, the America's just going to flat out die. Okay? Not necessarily. Let me give you an idea of something that you probably haven't thought of, but that's going to make some kind of sense if you think about it. Okay? Now, one of the things you see in these protests, recently Antifa started rampaging through Atlanta again because one of their members decided to take a pot shot at an Atlanta police officer. Cops responded with deadly fire and killed one of the Antifa guys, so now they're trying to burn Atlanta down because, I don't know, they think Atlanta is full of fascists or something, even though Antifa really is full of fascists. But neither here nor there. One of the things you'll hear these people say, okay, and it doesn't matter whether they're Antifa, Protifa, Latifa, who they are, the loofah sponge, doesn't matter. One of the things they always say is no justice, no peace. Okay? An article recently came out, I think it was American Conservative, but I'll provide a link somewhere in the description for this video or this audio so that you can go read this for yourself. But it got me to thinking. Justice and peace are two things that have nothing to do with each other. Okay? Let me explain the difference between the two. Justice. Okay? Everybody that you hear from, every little bit of hot air you're hearing online, on television, on radio, on YouTube, on Twitter, on Facebook, in print, wherever you go, everybody talks about justice. Social justice, environmental justice, economic justice, criminal justice, sexual justice, all this justice. Everything has to be just. The problem with justice is that you keep having to address the past. Okay? Justice is exacted for something that has been done before. Okay? A grievance, a violation, breaking the law. Something has happened that is unjust, you think, to your standards, and you demand justice for it. So justice requires you to look back into your past for things that need to be justified, things that need to be made right in order for things to be just, for you to have your justice. Looking back on on things that you've gone through before, understand you're not going to get justice for things that broke your way. Okay? For things that you wanted to happen, you're not going to seek justice for those because you're content with what happened. Justice, when you're in a justice mindset, justice requires you to go back in your past and look for reasons to be offended. That's a negative worldview. You are looking for reasons to be offended so that you can be the victim. We've heard people wanting to play the victim. We've heard about people glorifying victimhood, people falsely claiming victimhood. That's where that comes from. This is why they have embraced justice so much. Want to know what happens when an entire society seeks justice? Islam. Go to the Middle East. Look at Egypt. Look at Syria. Especially look at Saudi Arabia, Iran, and Iraq. Well, especially Iran and Saudi Arabia. Islam is concentrated on justice here on earth. And boy, talk about looking for reasons to be offended. Muslims have been at each other's throats. Sunni and Shia have been at each other's throats since roughly 670 AD when the Prophet Muhammad's uncle told him to go pound sand because he wouldn't give him an extra number of camels to go assault Medina with. Which is a true story.
Wow.
Ever since then, there's been this obsession with justice. When you build a society around justice, you're constantly looking for reasons to be offended. You're constantly looking for reasons to make enemies of the people around you. You see other people as the opposition. You are pure. See, you are saintly. You are just absolutely blameless. Everybody else sucks. Everybody else is scum. Okay? So when you're looking for justice and you build your whole society around justice, you look for reasons to make enemies of your neighbors. America is not built that way. We are not built on justice. America does not consider justice to be our top priority. In America, we focus on liberty. Okay? What does liberty have to do with peace? Let me list this. With justice, you are constantly meeting enemies and you are attempting to overcome them so you can extract justice from them. How do you do that? You wage war. The opposite of war? Peace. Peace requires you to not obsess over your past. Peace requires you to not only not obsess over the past, not to seek victimhood, not to seek, quote, justice. Peace requires you to forgive people who have offended you. Okay? Peace, when you've forgiven the people around you who have done you harm, well, you're actually extracting some modicum of satisfaction from that because you're the bigger person. You have forgiven your enemies, you have forgiven those who have trespassed against you, those who have victimized you. You no longer see yourself as a victim, you see yourself more as not quite a saint, but one of the good guys. Because you can forgive. Okay? Peace comes from forgiveness. Not from enmity, not from hanging on to the past, not from obsessing over history and the transgressions that lurk within it. Peace comes from looking forward. Okay? I have forgiven what has happened to me in the past. Now I can focus on the future. I choose to not be a victim anymore. I am going to go into tomorrow a new person. I am going to own who I am. I am going to make myself better and make the world better for the people around me. I want the freedom. There's that F word, freedom. I want the freedom for myself and my neighbors who have transgressed against me in the past, but I've forgiven them of that. I want them to be free of my enmity, and I hope that they will hold me blameless for any transgressions I may have done against them. Liberty requires peace, basically. Okay? Justice requires war. They are flip sides of a coin. They are diametric opposites. Justice requires violence. Peace requires acceptance. Justice is going to drive a wedge between you. That's where we are now. Just social justice warriors. That's what they really are, warriors. They see this as war. The rest of America who doesn't buy into this doesn't realize they honestly think, these social justice warriors, they honestly think they're at war. They are waging a war to make America a more just place. The rest of us who grew up, we've talked in other shows about free-range children. We've talked about getting to know your neighbors. We've talked about being what you want to be, being who you want to be. We've talked about that before. If you're going to have peace for yourself, you must want peace for your neighbors too. And the best way to do that is with the freedom you have of pursuing your own happiness. We talk about freedom of religion. We talk about freedom of speech. We talk about this freedom, that freedom, we talk about all kinds of freedoms, but we never talk about the pursuit of happiness, which is one of the most fundamental freedoms that there is. And in order to pursue your happiness, you have to decide what makes you happy. That requires the liberty to choose it, and liberty requires a peaceful society. So, when I say no justice, no peace, if you are saying that, if you are chanting that, if you are out there and you have that on a little placard somewhere, you are essentially showing the entire world that you are no better than an Orwellian prop screaming 4 feet good, 2 feet bad, or double plus bad, or something like that. You are making an oxymoronic statement, essentially. Because no justice, no peace, if you are protesting something that you feel an injustice has been done, you will never, ever know peace because you're in a warrior's footing. So, this is why America is struggling right now. The younger generations, being more emotional, being less experienced and more easily manipulated, have been turned into warriors who seek justice. Instead of, as we've learned in civics, as we learned in previous generations, seeking peace and loving one another and craving the liberty that comes with those. That's the divide you have now. The justice warriors and the hopeful peacemongers. How this is going to turn out, honestly, how this is going to turn out, honestly, is anybody's guess. But I'll say this, I mentioned that Islam is based upon justice. There's another major religion that is based on a Prince of Peace. And America was largely founded based on his principles and the lessons he tried to teach us. I'm not saying that the entire United States of America has to become Christian, but I'm saying Christian people need to reassert themselves and their place in society for the benefit not only of themselves and their families and their children and their friends, but of total strangers who are not Christians, who have always benefited from the Christians who have stood up to the people who want justice. So, make of that what you will. Feel free to discuss, all three of you. If, as I said, if you like the show, like the show. If you have not subscribed, please subscribe. If you share the show, please feel free to share the show. All of our relevant information has appeared somewhere at the bottom on the videos. All else fails, you can find us over on Twitter at Who What Where, WHOWOTWARE, where you can find all the relevant information over there. So, until next time, I'm going to wrap this. Like I said, 16 minutes is what we're currently looking at. Chris, and what can you say in under 10 seconds?
Peace, don't be a stupid idiot.
There you go. So, we're not judging anybody at all. So until next time. So until next time, take care for all of us here at the Chore of Duty. Ta.